Aquarius, your June 2025 forecast begins with as a zesty collective in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is about quick wits, can be humorous, can be mischievous, certainly fun and never dull. And that includes the ruler of the sign coming out of an exact conjunction with the Sun right at the end of May. Because Gemini can be about conveying ideas, the fifth house can be about showcasing your personality and charisma. You're going to be on top form as you come into this month. There's also a link between them and energy in the sign of Leo. Leo is the sign of being rather proud and sometimes a little more confident, and you've been supported through the energy of that sign of Mars, particularly since the 18th of April when it was out of retrograde but in that opposite sign. So it's given you a little bit more self-belief in terms of how you've linked with others, but also perhaps helped you to be a bit firmer on your boundaries. But at the start of this month, Venus, the relator in the chatty third house, is still in touch with Mars in that seventh house. So I feel that whether it's around someone you're interested in, whether it's a project that inspires you, whether it's your social situation, there's a lot to like at the start of this month. But your traditional ruler, Saturn, moved on the 25th of May into the sign of Aries for the first time since 1999. Aries for you, where Venus is about those quick, fast communications. It can be about our belief systems, the third house, connections with siblings, neighbours. Our everyday world can be these days about technology, but certainly about social media and stuff like that. Now, Saturn's first visit is just through to the end of August, and of course it is being shadowed by the elusive vibe of Neptune. However, they're both in a very strong alliance with Pluto in your sign in its retrograde. Pluto in the first house is very much about a development. It's about an evolution of who we are. Sometimes some parts of our being make way because we're recreating something like the phoenix, which is more suitable for us. But the first house is very much about identity. But Pluto's encouraging you and me to have more self-belief about what makes us different, because Aquarius people have a reputation of being zany, but there is a duality to Aquarians. Some Aquarians will want a more peaceful life, certainly the last 10 degrees, the Venus sub-ruled people. The middle 10 degrees can be quite chatty. The first 10 degrees of Aquarius, in terms of the decans, can be more revolutionary and outspoken. But whatever type of Aquarian you are, over the years to come, there is going to be a big shift in your situation. But because the first house links to the third house with Saturn and Neptune, that change of your identity, but how it is conveyed to others through quick communication, even if Saturn can slow things down, means that your words, your thoughts, your ideas are likely to have a much greater impact on other people pretty well from the start of this month. Year 2025 is absolutely speeding by, and back by popular demand is my very unique personal horoscope offer. You can order your year 2026 forecast now, but also get the rest of year 2025 free. Also, my special package, which is totally unique to each person it's produced for, you'll get your life roadmap report. This is the most important document any of us can ever read, because this helps to give us searing insights into the patterns that are played out in our lives so far, but importantly, how to work with that energy future forwards in a much more effective way. The forecast helps you to time your moves to the best advantage. Please see the link below for more. Then, on the 6, Venus the relator, despite that flirty link to Mars, which peaked on the 22nd of last month, moves into the practical for you, home-based sign of Taurus, which she rules. But that can give you a real appreciation of your immediate space. If you're in the south, that may be getting comfortable and cozy for the winter. If you're in the north, it may be beautifying your garden, inviting people around to spoil them. Venus in Taurus loves spoiling. It may be that you are thinking about redecorating, getting some new furnishings. Venus loves being in Taurus. But if you are someone who appreciates growing your own vegetables or cooking from scratch, Venus can also emphasize that part of your nature too. But Venus is in a square with Pluto, and that can be quite complex. Venus can charm, Pluto can hide its motives. So there could be something around a family matter that's been very disruptive over the last few years, and someone might be minded for a rapprochement. And you're going to have to make a decision if that happens, whether you want that to happen, whether you feel that really that is merited. Because if someone really owns something where perhaps something has broken down, that's a world of difference from someone who just basically wants to put the dispute behind them because it would make them feel better, but perhaps it would leave you feeling still with the same set of injustice that you may have had in the past. So just be conscious that Uranus has been pushing you to find your emotional and familial authenticity in recent years, and it's been a long and possibly painful and disruptive journey, maybe even about where you live. So I wouldn't give up on what it is that you've been pursuing in that time too easily because someone decides to charm you. Just be conscious of that. But on the 8th, Mercury moves forwards and merges with Jupiter. Mercury can be the merchant. It's very much about business. Of course, it is the intermediary, so the messages that we all share these days, a lot of them. But Jupiter can, of course, be about luck. But the 5th house can be about speculation. If there is something that you're really sure could work well for you, that is different and new and fresh, that could be a very, very important date for you. Now, ironically, Mercury later that day moves into Cancer. Mercury in Cancer is not the best technically because the wateriness and the subjectivity that Cancer can have can erode the precision and detachment that Mercury likes. But you know, the 6th house is actually redolent of the energies of Virgo. So as long as you don't get too caught up in how it feels, here you can slice through and get to the tiny details which are so important. Now, Mercury's joined by Jupiter on the 9th. Jupiter loves being in Cancer. It's exalted here, whereas in Gemini it was detrimented and clashed with your traditional ruler for the last year. So however much you tried to expand in the last year, somehow or another it all was very slow, and perhaps financially also there were some headwinds. But Jupiter and Mercury moving into the 6th house can see you developing a can-do attitude. That's not to say you already have it, but you're going to want to apply it somewhere. So the great thing about the 6th house is it can be about providing services. Jupiter can be about enthusiasm, but the 6th house can also be about physical health. If you do want to get more active, that combination will certainly give you a lot of ideas and perhaps some potential communication. But stern Saturn does square Jupiter. It doesn't become exact until the 15th. If you recall, we had one in August last year, we had one on Christmas Eve, we had one on the 3rd of January, square between Saturn and Jupiter. One is about expansion, one is about potentially retraction. Now they can balance each other in a positive way. So here with Saturn now in your 3rd house, that is your ideas, but also your mode of communication. The 6th house is where we are obligated to others. So the big lesson over the next year is you could offer something and it could come through for you in a big way, and people could really like what you offer, but don't over offer, because if you do, you can end up feeling stressed out by trying too hard, essentially. So important to keep it really real around ideas and what you're going to offer. The 17th, however, sees Mars dive deep. A kind of scorpionic vibe of Mars moving into your 8th house. If you are wanting to convert some of the collaborations you've been developing into something more profitable, you've got a great chance through to the 6th of August. But also Mars in the 8th house could see a relationship which has been developing get a lot more hot and intimate. But Mars in the 8th house can also be about where we can feel quite compulsive, particularly around spending money and on big ticket items. Just be aware of that. You might feel you can and deserve to, and good for you if so. The Sun joins Jupiter, Mercury on the 21st with the summer solstice. Cardinal Quadrant 2 comes in. 13-week period for you, about getting all the practicalities working in your life if it feels right. That's the Cancer. The 6th house is the detail. We have the connection between the Sun and Jupiter, which occurs once a year in the conjunction. It's usually very lucky. The 6th house, if you have a pet or would like a pet, they can bring joy to you towards the end of this month. If you do provide a service for people, that service could be a real success, providing the detailing and the delivery of your message doesn't overgild the lily. The 25th is the new moon. If you have been feeling a bit sluggish, there's parts of your existence which leave you feeling a bit run down, perhaps find it difficult to sleep as well as you would like. Your diet could be improved. A great opportunity with this new moon to think about and gain ideas. It's also a great time to perhaps reorganize your finances, because Mars feeds into that new moon in a very constructive way. Mars in the 8th house can also see very determined to improve your lot, squeeze more out of the resources you've got. The 26th sees Mercury move into your opposite sign. Now Mercury in the 7th house is fab really, particularly in Leo, because it just has a little bit more sort of self-belief, but opposite almost straight away Pluto in your sign. So at the end of this month, there could be an intense conversation. But Pluto, if you're submitting to it, is transforming your identity. And that then can be conveyed through the power of Saturn and Neptune in the 3rd house. So as much as Saturn's in its full in the sign of Aries, Aries is about new beginnings, fresh energy, physical vitality. Saturn can obviously moderate those things. So it is going to be important to not overcommit, not just this month, but over the next year. But I also feel you can transform your physical vitality, well-being and health by giving yourself an honest overview. Perhaps going to visit someone who is a nutritionist, or reading stuff online that can help you to recreate your approach to how you use your energetic resources. But if you can focus on making your life more efficient and streamlined, some very, very good stuff is coming through for you. And don't underestimate the power of your message or your ideas. Have a great month, Aquarius.